Hello everyone, I am Chaos Wolf. You may have seen me run this game last year, but that was for the any percent category, but today we're gonna do all secrets. So in Ion Fury there exists over 200 secrets, and we're gonna get them all. I have with me here my commentator, if you would like to introduce yourself.
Hey, Oasis here. I'm one of the level designers, actually the lead level designer for Ion Fury, and I'll be here assisting Chaos Wolf with the commentary for the game and providing a little bit of trivia here and there as well.
Alright. I'm gonna go new game, campaign, and then timing is gonna start on the difficulty selection. 3, 2, 1, go.
Alright, so typically, yeah, go on.
So our first secret right here is this little slam game. We get our SMG out of that.
Slam game done by yours truly. So yeah, a little bit about the design with the first map and the maps in general is that the design is very allowing non-linear exploration, but of course people kept finding new and new glitches like the one you're about to see here. Normally you're supposed to do kind of a detour here, but we intentionally left the cliff walls out in a lot of segments just in case people manage to find something in the future, and so they can have it as a reward. So here might be some new things that I haven't even seen myself. So that was like one thing that required quite a bit of detour, and the first few maps are very open and allow a lot of exploration.
Yeah, so there's a lot of references to movies, pop culture, memes. That one right there, where you saw the big MDK sign, that was a reference to the Blade Runner movies.
Yeah, there's TDK, and then there's the origami that's there, and you get the Tears in Rain, which is the Hour quote line right there. So plenty of references, just like Duke Nukem 3D and the other build engine shooters. We were sure to cram a game full of them every time we had watch a movie or something. It's like, yes, this needs to go in.
And we're gonna do some of the secrets. Go ahead.
Some of the secrets as well, they are very obscure. When we decided, okay, we're gonna punish the player, we're gonna have some really obscure secret or something like that. But it's kind of like very rewarding as well in many cases. So what you saw there is that the sprites are actually actors in the game, and they are able to push the player inside geometry as well. We tried to do a lot of clipping fixes to the game back in 2019, so the clipping is very different to what you have in Duke 3D, but you can still have sprites push the player inside geometry sometimes, and the game gets confused and panics, and it's like, okay, you're supposed to be in this sector, and this sector is like this tall, okay, so that means that you should be high up here, right? And that's how you get teleported.
Okay, this jump is so tricky. You gotta angle yourself.
Something you'll be seeing in the game is Chaos doing jumps on slopes. Slopes are the very nasty thing with the build engine. They added sloping quite late in the development of the engine back in 1995. So a lot of the calculations are actually done on the actual ground level instead of the slope. So slope is more like a hinge that goes up for the ground or ceiling. So the jumping physics are very bad, so if you run and jump, a lot of the times your input might be missed.
Alright, this one secret coming up. Normally you gotta turn on some fans and get, use the air current to take you up there, but we can do very clever crouch jump to get to the boots.
It's one of the few remaining instances when it comes to the clipping bugs with the build engine where it again gets confused, like which sector you're supposed to be, and a sector being each level, each division you see on the ground, be it shade, be it different texture, height, palette, or anything like that, that's going to be a different sector. So any surface that's higher up or anything like that, the collision gets confused and the game panics and again puts you higher up than what you were supposed to be. These are very rare. But it's amazing that they still manage to exist in some form or shape. So some of these secrets I've honestly completely forgotten. We actually, last time I did 100% secrets fully was when we were doing playtesting back in 2019 for the game. So it's also a little bit interesting to see some of these that I might have even forgotten. Obviously... Go ahead.
One thing worth noting... Oh, this guy, get away from my door. I was trying to bring up a point about the switches, and that guy was a jerk. Anyway, so if you approach a switch, like any switch, and hold your activate key, the default E, you'll activate it like frame perfect, and we use that quite a bit during this speed run.
Yeah, it's kind of all the switches are recoded compared to what you had in Duke 3D. So all the switches use like a custom script sort of that don't rely on the stock things, and we did a bunch of changes there. So yeah, it allows things like buffering, which was actually completely unintentional, and we actually found out about it later on. And it's of course we want to keep something like that because it makes absolute sense to have something like that enabled.
Yeah. Any Silent Hill fans know the significance of the number 302. We just hit 3, and this is to open up the not only are there secrets which are tagged on screen, if you can see the results there in the corner, but also there's some more hidden mega secrets in each zone. And the first one is Silent Hill reference. So we'll be
a little bit about the secret ticker. So every time you enter a new map, the game loads the map and adds to the current secret tally. And every time you see you missed this and this amount of secrets, that's kind of like if you have like, let's say 23 out of 29, then you're going to be missing that amount of secrets. And if you enter the next map, you're going to get another bundle of it. But once you complete a zone, then you're going to have the final secret count. So for example, 34 secrets could be the final count in this case, and right now you're up to 29. So only at the end of the zone you will know the true secret count of the particular zone.
That's the zone mega secret reference to Silent Hill 4 The Room.
Very much of a replica of the area.
I'm gonna grab this health.
So very much of the game, you're kind of a glass cannon. So it's kind of like a lot of like planning on health and safety and other things as well, because you do a lot of damage, but you will also get a lot of damage. Sometimes the crossbow cultists, for example, there was a bug, and this is being played on an older version of the game, where they can actually stack some of the shots unintentionally. So that is something that can cause a lot of damage unexpectedly. So here, that was kind of not really seen. There was a reference to Tetris with the blocks that exploded right there. So not all the references are directly bound to the secrets, but there's like a bunch of Easter eggs here and there that we kind of try to hide around. And yeah, more of them come and go. This is the first kind of like a proper point where you enter the boss map, first proper boss map of the game, and that's kind of like the point where you have most of the secrets. So you can see that it counts up to 31 now out of 29. So even though we had everything on the previous map, don't get alarmed. It just means that it added 2 for this map specifically. So there are 2 secrets in the map that we can miss.
Okay, we got that first try. So normally you're locked outside and have to fight the horde of enemies, but we can quickly work our way back inside if we do it just right. And in that apartment right there is a reference to the Mark 13 from Hardware.
Hardware, yeah.
And then we're gonna... Are you serious? Come back here. I was supposed to jump on that guy's head, but he is being uncooperative. There we go.
So that is another thing of the clip walls. We kind of a bit of a design mentality belief is kind of like, if you can make it, you should be able to make it. And if in a sense you want to block something that's unreachable, then use blocks there, and it's up to the player to figure out if they want to beat the system or not. So it's kind of like that. That's another example there of where we didn't really expect that to happen, but kudos to the player. Here I'm trying to remember if we have any specific references, so most of these are kind of like generic secrets for the most part.
Yeah,
so this
I don't think there's anything major in this one. Any references like that?
Yeah, this is the second zone that just started, so this is where the secrets kind of reset and the kills and everything reset. So this is like a new counter started here.
So we just wait for this thing to explode. I'm just gonna run against the wall. So yeah, you may have noticed me do two things. One being the strafe running, which, you know, common for FPS games from the 90s. We move faster this way. Another thing is reload canceling. So like there's a reload mechanic in this, and we can cancel the animation so we can continue firing by hitting the... Oops, did not mean to go up there. Hitting a series of buttons.
Yeah, pretty much like when the game was released, a few mechanics were found, and we just decided against patching those because aside from anything that obviously can ruin the fun for players, but anything that we messed up is kind of like, it's on us. So we don't want to ruin the fun too much.
That's it for this level. 6 out of 6.
Normally a lot of this level gets skipped by using what's called cluster pucks, which blows a wall near the exits and allows you to pretty much skip, like, I would say 60-70% of the map. Completely ignore more, but here you see it done.
I'd say more like 95% of that level.
Yeah, I would say that's probably a more fair figure.
One secret in there, and now this next one gives me trouble because I have to rely on the spider drones to platform off of, and wow, they actually cooperated.
Yeah, normally we kind of rely that you're supposed to, like, there's going to be an explosion and you can push a chair up there and then use the chair to boost yourself up there, but that's obviously going to take a lot longer than using a spider to boost up there, so... Even remember that one up there.
Now this room, there's a... Go ahead.
No, I was just saying that it's actually very confusing to look at the maps because we're working on the Aftershock content at the moment, and the maps are completely mirrored there, so the past couple of months I've been staring at like mirror flip maps, so this is like the first time in a while I see these like the right way around.
Oh, almost took that to the face.
Yeah, having red armor in your arsenal, like the armor types that go, you have blue armor, then you have like the orange armor and red armor. And the idea is that the higher tier armor you have, the more damage it's going to reduce. It's not just the count. So, for example, when you have like 200 red armor, it's going to be, or even 100 or 50 red armor, it's going to be much more useful than having 50 blue armor. So they kind of like have different tiers. So this is red armor is very useful to have. So it allows you to survive a lot of the deadlier blasts that you normally would kind of give on. So this is a section familiar to those who played the preview campaign of the game. It was obviously remixed a little bit for the main campaign. Was actually originally lifted for the main campaign. Many sections you see here, but here is kind of like the revisit to that area.
So that explosion absolutely needs to trigger if you want to get to the mega secret. Sometimes if you cross the line in such a way too fast, then it won't explode. So I had to make sure, I had to look out for that. Thankfully it didn't give me any grief this time. Now is our zone mega secret coming up. Launch a few grenades into that. There it goes. And this is reference to Carmageddon. A brief glance at it.
Yeah, it was the car that max damage uses, right?
Mm-hmm. We got another amusing secret in this level coming up. So we get a fire grenade. There. Here we are. Reference to movie
Shopping mall.
Shopping mall, yes.
And there's a poster with the Walking Dead reference as well, but that's like part of the generic references you have here and there. There's actually another reference in Shopping Mall that's going to be in the expansion pack, and it's, I can spoil a little bit that involves the certain robots.
So these lanterns, I've been spamming jump on them, but this one, for some reason, the only one in the game, you can't do that, or you'll just fall off. I'm not going to fully explore that secret, but it has a reference to Portal. So you'll see a flat cardboard cake, and Shelly will say, "They promised me cake."
Yeah.
And there's also a companion cube in there.
That ladder that you have there where it doesn't work, it might be because there's a teleporter in between. It's very similar to the one that you shoot from the air duct in the base in terms of functionality. So if it doesn't work there, then or has issues working there, then that will explain it.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me, miss. Have you seen an
This is a reference to Duke. You have like a Duke mannequin there. So that's something you also had in the preview.
So would you like to explain the headshot mechanic?
Yeah, so the headshots in this game is basically any sprite that you shoot. It kind of scales damage up and down depending on where you shoot the sprite, so depending on the height of the sprite. So if you shoot the top part, then you're going to deal a lot of damage, and if the bottom part, then less damage. And then, of course, it kind of has the clipping and everything applied there as well. It's kind of like a sphere, kind of like a cone, whatever type, like hitbox, I don't remember exactly. So if you manage to manipulate it and get a really good shot, then you're going to do a lot of damage. So this is the section, like this whole building is something I did, and have a few obscure references here and there.
Try that again.
So the building you're about to see is a reference to Duke Nukem, like the Red Room secret that you have in the first level. And it's a very brief thing, but it's the layout is very, very much the same. Just of course using Fury assets and everything to replicate the nukes and feel of it, and the flickering lights and whatnot.
Vents are really hard.
This is a stupid button. Not necessarily a reference to anything here, but just a stupid secret.
Kind of have to pick up this power up. It makes it a little bit harder to get through the vent, but I've learned to manage. I would prefer to just shoot it with a normal weapon, but
yeah,
it is what it is. And also, unlike any percent, I can actually hear this song, which is my favorite in the whole game.
Yeah, Ross is an amazing musician. I remember when I heard this first time. It was actually released at a demo party first, and then it ended up in the game, so a lot of the songs he composed for the game. were actually also released at a demo party. The water cooler has no reference either. It was just like, I wanted the most elaborate stupid sequence where you have to blow up a wall by blowing up a water cooler that causes electrical issues and then blows up the wall, and that kind of fit the ball.
Yeah, I took out everybody so that they wouldn't shoot my plant. Very fragile, and I needed to get up there to that heavy armor. It's not the intended way, but it is faster.
So I believe the secret room is unmarked in this map. I remember like marking it as a secret, unless I changed it after preview. But there's a Twin Peaks reference as well in this map.
Alright. Careful, jump on this air conditioning unit.
A lot of the secrets were actually added after like speedrunners and kind of started exploiting the game and discovering routes. So for example, being able to enter through the windows, it wasn't really a thing. But when speedrunners started doing that, like jumping outside the window, it's like, hey, that's actually a really cool interconnection. So I made it a thing so you can actually enter from the bathroom through the windows, and added the whole balcony thing and whatnot. So it ended up being like a thing that was added. There's a couple of things, like you can look at the monitor and there's a reference to like a spoof 3D Mark thing and other things, but it's kind of like pointless to go there because there's like no reward.
This next one's got a very obscure reference, a movie I've never heard of until somebody, one of my moderators in my chat, actually pointed it out to me.
Yeah, I think you're talking about the 601.
The Barbarella secret.
Oh, that one, yeah. Yeah, the 601 is also a reference.
Nothing there.
Everything, get in my way. There.
Yeah, the Barbarella thing is like, there's actually hint later on to it. There's like, get soap is like text in one of the lockers later on in the map. So that like sends you on a whole journey of looting like these different switches and whatnot. It was actually inspired by, I remember there was like a really obscure, like it wasn't Half-Life Deathmatch, but it was kind of like these, one of these like mods or something, and there was kind of like this, you push a button or something and it starts like this whole journey throughout the map where you need to like do different things in a kind of sequence, and then it opened like this teleportation to a whole new area, and I thought it was like a really, really cool thing, and that always like inspired me when it came to like obscure secrets.
And there it is.
So there's, yeah. So it's basically the excessive machine, and you can Google it up if you want, but that's basically Duran Duran has its way with Barbarella heroin, and that's a Duran Duran band actually got its name from Barbarella itself. So here's a fact of the day. And the screen you saw when just before he entered the air duct 601, that is a reference to Andromeda Strain, which is kind of like the error code that pops up on the screen during the movie, just 601. Bit of an obscure movie these days, but it's actually a pretty cool movie about like alien life forms and whatnot.
Take him out. He's got a grenade launcher. Okay, there's a bit of a cycle here in this wind tunnel, and yeah, we just caught it. So we gotta wait for it to turn off, and then I can hit this switch, and then wait for it to turn back on again. So we're gonna be in here for a moment.
And you cannot really throw bombs here either or anything. You would kind of trigger it, but the problem is that the current is going to be too strong that it's just going to fling up everything that you throw there.
Ow.
It's kind of like a very minor reference to like do 3D stuff where you kind of blow up reactors and whatnot, and that's why you have the nuke symbol there as well. So it's kind of like a small, tiny tribute to like the Episode 2 maps, especially in Duke 3D, where you just blow up random reactors. Always found those sections really cool.
So we're coming up on the end of this zone. This will eventually lead to the only secret level in this game, which also serves as the mega secret.
Ah, our guest of honor. The boys have been waiting for you, Ms. Harrison. I'm sure they'll show you a good time.
So the sequence here is supposed to be the secret jingles who do the dun 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 dun. So that's the secret jingle, and that opens the mega secret itself. And the laptop you get to use.
I'll just do that again.
Yeah. It's a little bit random, like when it comes to these super blasts that you get here. But this basically is a boss fight that you will have to fight later on.
Why is it doing this? It's giving me trouble. It doesn't usually do this. It'll like cut out the second I get it down to 20%. There it goes.
Yeah, there he goes. So basically, it's pretending the ship itself actually has no AI. It only has a hit point, and then the ship itself kind of like moves around on a fixed path and does like fixed actions. So you see the lights go on with the ship as if it's still there and shooting like cannons and whatnot, because the ship actually isn't capable of shooting anything. So it's just like triggers placed in midair, approximating where the ship will be at any given moment, and then doing its thing. And of course, all those get disabled once the ship gets destroyed. So, but that's a little bit too early on that point. So here you can see a reference to kind of like Wolfenstein 3D, which is kind of very quick to miss. But it's just very simple geometry and kind of like classical portraits donning the kind of area here. Simple door and simple geometry and kind of like weird textures. There's like construction, flooring construction, and you get to see the previous floors completely destroyed here. What actually happens here is that you're actually not moving, you're actually staring at a green screen, and the green screen itself is kind of like going around like different areas. So you're basically just watching a movie of things happening, and now you're in the actual area. So you're in a completely different elevator now.
This one probably has my second favorite track in the whole game. You don't really get to hear it very often unless you're doing this category or 100%.
Yeah. It basically started as Streets of Rage kind of inspired thing, and then the musician just went on and did like this very dance tune out of it. It just like, I don't know, had like 10 seconds done to it for a long time, and then just, okay, can you please do a full song out of it? And okay, sure.
Yeah, and the composer, Jarko Rothstein, you can find him on Spotify. Listen to this soundtrack. Highly recommend it. Yep. Actually, I'm doing things out of sequence. I need to get the keycard first.
Yeah, careful not to lose track. So this map kind of started as a baseball stadium only, and then we kind of expanded and added like the area around it, and anything from this point on was what existed like before, and it was like polished and polished and polished. Like we had one guy working on the stadium and it turned out amazing, and then I went on and added like the gameplay when it comes to the arena fights and everything. So that's like a thing I did. So
now there's one section in this category where we actually have to kill everything. The drones, the flying ones and the fighters, they don't matter. But everything else needs to die.
Yeah, it's a little bit different to the other hordes. The other hordes are basically hard code timed, so it spawns enemies, but here you can actually speed up the progress by just killing enemies faster instead of like waiting around for things to spawn. So this is kind of like one of the later hordes I did for the game, so that's why it features like the kill trigger based operation, which I think would be better in hindsight to implement for the rest as well. So the player gets to pick the pacing that he wants to do.
There we go, there's second phase. So more groups of enemies to clear out, and then the boss fight. The boss is just going to be another one of those mechs that we have already seen.
Yeah, there's going to be two of those mechs. I think the other one is rocket and the other one is grenade, if I remember right. So it's like a special thing done for this bit specifically. Our programmer really hates me because I like to place the mech on a lot of places that it wasn't supposed to be. It was originally supposed to be only for the circle boss fight, but then we ended up like using it in a lot of places that it wasn't intended to end up in. So sometimes it has like a little bit of quirky AI.
I'm gonna use one of my radar to find the guys because I don't see anybody. Is that him? There we go. Same strat as before, except this didn't work. There we go.
So you basically only need to pick one minigun out of these. And that minigun basically acts as a trigger for the channel to trigger, and which opens the elevator for use.
Yeah, you want to explain it's like before with the elevator, this is also a green screen.
Yeah, so in the map you can see that the train is not moving at all, and that is because everything around you is actually moving in the, like, I'm actually moving the camera in a tunnel, so this way the train and the movement can exist, because, for example, the train tracks you see here, the train would never be able to kind of like move along them, because the train shape and the track shape I would need to kind of stretch and bend for that to work, because you cannot really overlap the tracks normally. So in this map, for example, you're also in a skybox, and it's kind of like green screening around you. You think it's like you're moving really fast, but it's actually the camera moving really fast on the green screen, and it's just projected on the walls. So it looks like you're moving really fast. And if the player manages to jump off, then I just make sure that there's like a push effect that roughly matches the visuals and damage to kill the player before he gets too smart on what's actually going on outside there. Typically, build engine games rely on having like a conveyor belt outside there, but we wanted to have like other visuals like doors and other things on the side, so for that you kind of need it. For example, if you compare it to Blood, it's just going to be like a flat surface on the side, and maybe some sprites here and there that they just keep respawning, but here it's a little bit more advanced.
once I get about halfway in the room, I'm gonna start charging this bow. Introduce this new enemy where you just move them down. And that's the trigger for the end.
I remember the notes for this was like, it has to be a Joker laugh. So yeah, this is another part that you kind of have in the preview campaign as well. You just go a little bit the other way around, but this was actually done this way before the whole preview campaign thing. So this is actually the intended shape form of the map.
There's a skip we normally do an 80%, but it's way too risky because by then enemies have gathered around you. So I just don't even do it. I just go the intended way.
One of the most powerful weapons you have in the game is actually the darts you can pick up there. They actually do insane amount of damage to enemies. Here you have to hit the middle, and being build engine, it's very iffy, but yeah, the darts can basically one-shot get some enemies. They do insane amount of damage, but of course they're really laborious to pick up and do anything with, so he's actually triggering like a entrance to another secret. So there's like a hazard suit that you can pick up, and with the hazard suit you can enter a really deadly secret. And that is a reference to Chernobyl, the TV show, and the elephant's food.
I had to wait a moment. I moved a little too fast. That power-up was still active. We wanted to one-shot that guy. Yeah. Here's our zone mega secret, a reference to Chernobyl.
And if you run out of the suit and you go there, you're just gonna pretty much die instantly because he's just gonna kill you. The damage is gonna be insane. So it's actually, for casual players, it's actually a very hard secret to reach, I would say. It's a little bit less secrets in terms of like references, I would say. There's like one reference I can think of, at least. Two references. And then the next one is going to be on the next map, I would say. But here's like another few parts where you can do, normally skips in any percent, but it doesn't really make sense to do those in 100%. It's one of those where you can just put explosives inside a wall and it kind of gets through because they splash damage and whatnot. And you can skip like a chunk of the map.
Okay, I'm doing this really badly. There we go.
So as usual, like strafe running and whatnot, it is the Pythagoras theorem kind of getting, so instead of the size you're doing like the hypotenuse, because you're doing like forwards and strafing at the same time, so it kind of messes up the formula and you're getting like 1.25 or something like that speed that you would do normally. And there's like other further ways to mess it around, and everything in Build Engine works with integers. There's like no floating point, no really, everything's very basic. You had to run on a 486 back in the day, so, and that's like a 66 megahertz CPU for the Build Engine, so a lot of dirty shortcuts exist because of that. Say Aardwolf, that's a reference to one of the campaigns that Apogee had back in the day, where you had a maze map and you had Say Aardwolf, call Apogee and Say Aardwolf, and you would like win a competition kind of thing. So that's kind of like a old reference to the competition there. And they actually got really pissed about it, that they had the 3D Realms FAQ mention like the Aardwolf thing, because they had so many people calling in there all the time, so it was mentioned like, no, don't call us. This area, this corridor here, was like one of the first screenshots we published for the game. So that's like one of the very early areas that was like visually complete there.
No. Thankfully, we still have jump boots and we can jump across that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just sit and wait for the next level. The wall's gonna blow up.
We kind of wanted to avoid any cutscenes where the player has to wait and nothing really happens, but that's like one of the few exceptions we have. Like the elevators and such, they're also waiting periods, but you still have like something happening. So, but that was a kind of a nice, unexpected thing to happen in the game, even though it's minor.
I'm gonna bait this guy out, see if we can... No, he jumped right into me.
I think in this map you have the Alien reference, and then you have the reference to Hellraiser.
Now would be a good time to bring up the when we're in the water and we use the electrifier, for some reason we move twice as fast.
Yeah, my canonical explanation is that Shelly is swimming, so like you're doing hand movement, so of course you move faster.
And now our brutes ran out, so we gotta do some tricky platforming. There we go. And any percent, if you're fast enough, your boots are still active. You can just use those to get across. And we get to look for the one with a different texture, and yeah, here's the
Yeah, that's
garbage. The garbage
Alien
area
secret.
where Ellen Ripley first meets Newt. Probably my favorite, since I love the Alien franchise. And this next one, we're not really gonna see it, but it's a reference to Hellraiser 2, I believe.
Yeah, I think it's the second one, yeah. Yeah, there's basically just a pylon that kind of comes out and rotates. I love the reference. And
Oh,
so something
why
we
you
added to
clicked
the game is that you kind of like speed up and slow down depending on if you're going up and down slopes. So you can still do crazy steep slopes sometimes, but you have like a speed difference that also applies.
I'm sorry, Shelley, but we've had another malfunction. Don't fret. The good doctor will give you a lift.
So, boss fight. Again, this is more use of green screens on this big conveyor belt cargo elevator.
Yeah, so unlike the train, this is more closer to how Blood does its trains. So all the surfaces you see here, like the walls and floor and everything, is just a scrolling texture. So it's just one big scrolling texture going around, and the texture of course loops. So there's actually like no movement happening aside from the walls and floors and ceiling, like texture scrolling. So it's like a water current or whatever you would want to say there. It's like moving around.
Those guys
Enough
didn't
to-
really cooperate. You want to line them up and use the ion bow. You can kill them both relatively quickly, but no such luck this time.
believe this spot here was where we got the first screenshot of the game that was actually public, but the area looks so different that it's almost completely unrecognizable.
Wait for
Way
this.
back in 2015. So this is like one of my more liked areas in the game, because I just really like the overall setting of the map quite a bit, and of course the music helps after like the whole underground bit.
Very well hidden switch right there. Same color as the panel it's on. Oops. Oh, I'm getting turned around. There we go.
So originally the Zone 4 Super Secret was supposed to be like it was kind of like the Gulag style shower. I think it was like, it was one of the prison movies, or what was it like? I don't remember exactly, but it was like the kind of like, it was an iconic thing. Was it Alcatraz or something? I don't remember exactly, but it used to have like a different Super Secret, but then we kind of ran out of time and ran out of walls. More importantly, because the you can only have 16,384 walls on a single map, and if you go over that budget, you have to split it to a different map file. And that's why you all have these loading screens in between, because we had to split the maps due to technical limitations of the engine.
So right there, just for the hell of it, I picked up that burger. The screen flashes red like you took damage, but it's actually giving you health, implying that it's not quite healthy.
Yeah, we were joking about like having the Postal 2 style, where you can have something that heals you, but you just become addicted to it, so you constantly have to like take more and more over time, or otherwise you're just gonna lose health. It's like some really stupid things we thought for the game, but sometimes it's like really hard to communicate how something works, and so that's Turtles reference right there.
Yep. If you have Shelly's voice on, she'll say "Ninja Vanish." Right, and here's a secret, or a skip I discovered. Hang on. So yeah, you want to explain the sector over sector for that?
Yes. So basically, like you saw earlier with the clips, sometimes the game gets confused like which sector to put the player on. And unlike most typical 3D engines, Build Engine is not really a 3D engine. That's known. But also with Build Engine, you can have areas overlap each other. You can have them on the same height. You can have them like, that's typically used to create like the immersion of 3D, where you have like an upper floor or lower floor. But the reality is that Build Engine doesn't really care if you have upper, lower floor or lower floor. You can actually have them occupy the same space as well, and it doesn't have to be 2. It can be 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 areas occupying the same space. As long as the areas don't see each other, then you're perfectly fine. Otherwise you get rendering glitches. But when the game gets confused and panics like where to put the player, then it actually has to go through, let's say, the 8 areas and try to determine which one would be the right one to put the player in. And the first one that's it puts the player on is going to be the basically at the end of the routine of possible sectors. It's just always going to keep updating, like, okay, this is maybe here, maybe here. Actually, I found a new potential one, and puts there. So it really has nothing to do with the original thing where you teleported from. It's usually the destination is always the same, but As long as you manage to make the game confused and think you're out of bounds, then it's just going to put you where it makes its best guess where you're supposed to be. So that's how you can teleport between like different areas. So in other words, the dry pipe and the water-filled pipe, they're occupying the same space, and they're actually different like dimensions in a sense.
Because it's kind of random how that little spider drone we're getting a damage boost off of, how that one works, and then the fact that we're swimming through a tunnel full of sewage. I discovered it, so I named it, and I call it the crap chute.
Yeah. Yeah, it's one of the very few instances of remaining like when it comes to teleporting glitches and getting the game confused. There used to be like you looked at the engine wrong and it would like teleport you literally like back in the days of Duke 3D. Like you only had to kind of jump on a quarter and it would just do it like even when you were playing casually. So it absolutely was on the list of things we had to patch because it was actually hindering gameplay to a lot of people as well.
Yeah, that's why I play this on a down patch version, because you can't do that skip, among other skips in the current patch.
Yeah. The main change happened between, like, during, it was like the final time when this game was called Iron Maiden, and before it was rebranded to Iron Fury, so it was the Haskell's House of Horrors, and I think that's where we had, like, the first collision patch, in the major overhaul. For the collision, so it's a lot of things have happened to the collision like over time. So this map, that moon reads like Cha, which is a reference to, I remember it was like some cartoon, and this whole map here, there's like a red car outside, and this whole area is like a reference to Dangerous Date. So you have the similar kind of mansion, you go inside, and then you're eventually going to find, like, Dave himself, who's going to be dead in a corner, so the whole kind of map is a tribute to Dangerous Dave, and here you have, like, some...
And here is Muffin still here? In love and memory, A. Katarn, retconned.
Yeah, so... There's a... rip there, and it's also the famous someone is dead there. So that's I think there was a reference to, well, of course the famous someone, but it was also the Z Doom, where it's like, I don't remember if it was like things getting borrowed or something, someone did this or something like that. So it's always the famous someone. So it's kind of like a funny joke to that. Bunch of silly old house secrets.
Yeah, there's like 3 portraits that contain secrets. One of them is just you can pass through them. Another one you have to activate, and the other one you have to shoot. Like, you don't know how to access them, it kind of throw you off.
The board resisted this idea.
Yeah, this whole section here is kind of like a tribute to Get 3D and Quake. One of the horror maps has like the elevator that goes down and has like more stuff revealing as you go down. It's more like a portrait there, but always found that cool, so we kind of took it a little bit further here with the whole idea.
And if you haven't picked up on the texture on the carpet here, borrowed a lot in video games.
Yep,
Reference
it's
to the Shining.
Shining carpet.
There's a really efficient way to do this, but I don't remember the particulars of it. Where'd he go? Still another drone somewhere. There we go. we're off to Zone 6, which will be the last zone that actually has secrets that are required for the category. The final zone, Zone 7, has secrets, but none of them are tagged, so they are not required.
Yeah, so the final zone, it has like, I would say, 4 or 5 secrets, which are more like Easter eggs at that point. They help you a little bit with combat, but the reason why they weren't tagged is because the whole map is kind of like a linear sequence, so it's kind of like, otherwise it's so easy for the player to miss secrets. So it was kind of decided that's going to be a little bit unfair. That's going to be the case, so. This is also one of the segments available in the preview campaign. Changed quite a bit other ways around. The herbs that you see in one of the rooms is meant to be like a reference to Resident Evil and the healing herbs that you can find.
And that'll come up again for the Zone Mega Secret, one of my more favorite ones. Oh, okay. Just passed right through that thing. I'm gonna prep one of these cluster pucks for a secret.
So Q Evil Nukage filled lab with green, and yeah, we spent a lot of time working with the boxes that move around. Like, it's unbelievable how flaky those are. Like, you move one thing, you move like one thing with the boxes, and they're gonna like start drifting outside the map.
Once this fog's over completely, there it goes, then we'll start charging the bow. Now, in 80%, we do a trick to grab the key to the glass, but that will not work on this category because we have to come back here, and if you don't do it the intended way, you essentially are locked out. Come on, Shelly. There you go. Now, it says 14 out of 16. We come back to this level, so we cannot collect those last 2 secrets.
Yeah, this is one of the rare exceptions in the game. It's like the previous zone also featured this, but this one takes it a little bit further, so it's kind of like a bit of a difficulty curve, where you have like 2 really large maps that are like interlocked to each other, so you can kind of like traverse across both of them. So the kind of idea is that at this point the player should be experienced enough to understand that, how the zoning system and how things work. So yeah,
I don't know how. I don't know who, which of the mappers was responsible for this level, but I have to just comment that this level is very solid. There's like virtually no skips on any of the categories.
Yeah. We had like 2 guys work on the like Zone 5 and Zone 6. It was done by 2 mappers. So there's Vitaly, DNB, goes by the name DNB in the community, and then there's Methy, Met Hunter, by the name in the community. So they both worked on Zone 5 and Zone 6. So a lot of work was done for both of the maps by both, and Methy kind of added a lot of detail, added a lot of the room over room stuff that you see, like the jumping above and being above like the other rooms, and a lot of polish and detail as well, and effects, and like the thing you see here, like the rotating bits and everything was all done by him. So it was a collaborative effort on that front.
All right, listen closely. See the Triforce. Da-na-na-na. That opens up a secret. I didn't do the puzzle correctly, so we gotta... I don't think that is it either. kind of lost the rhythm for this. My first major marathon I ran this for was the ESA, and I got this first try, and hasn't quite happened since.
Yeah, it's one of those mastery puzzles, and we actually added. What is a little bit annoying is that the rotation only updates like 30 frames per second, because that's the execution cycles that the script goes. For the newer versions, we enable like sector interpolation for the rotation, so the rotation is much smoother, and it makes it much easier to like do the timing, because you kind of, the motion is more continuous, so it's easier to grasp where the rotation is at, I would say. So in the future versions, it is easier to stop the rotation, or relatively slightly easier. Because that's how the engine works. Everything is like 30 frames per second, but it kind of gets interpolated to 120. And from there, things kind of go on. So there are some things that clearly work at like 30 frames per second, but there are some things that do get interpolated on the engine side.
Bye, Wendigo. Don't have to worry about him. And now we're going to grab one last secret here, and then backtrack to the previous level. Pick up those two that we had to save for later.
I mean, the category is all secrets, so technically you can stop immediately once you get the last secret, right?
Do what now? Say that again?
The category is all secrets, so technically you can just stop after getting the last secret, right?
Nah. If only it were. If only it were that easy. We need the results screen after you beat it that says all secrets.
Yep.
I'm gonna be very careful here, because there's the Wendigo. That's who I was looking for. I should really kill him. We are now this one thing that was closed off, and now we can just pass right through it. And here's the laboratory, Resident Evil 1. And if you have Shelley's voice on, she'll say, "The ultimate failure."
Yeah, that's definitely the final room, like where you have the tyrant encounter. The first game.
Alright.
I always
Hold down
get so confused about the progression here, because I've seen so many different iterations of the Zone 6 progression, so it's...
Grab that. There we are. That's every secret. But now we just have to finish out.
Yeah, everything from here onwards, like a bunch of stuff for the elevator rides, is like my doing again. So this is like the Zone 3 and Zone 7 were kind of like my things that I ended up doing. Or imitation of the Half-Life 1 door right there. So this is like the reload cancel in action, so you can just rapid fire the grenades, which is extremely useful. It is also possible to squish the brutes under the door, but it's kind of iffy. But it is pretty amusing when you can get it to work.
Saves a bit of time too.
Yep. This whole section here is a reference to the Dark Side train ride that you're having to do 3D. Like it's almost a blatant copy, but of course it's been like the visuals and everything are like completely different to what you have there, but it's very reminiscent to those who have played it. I would say one of the most influential maps into 3D is Dark Side. At least personally, I always kind of brings goosebumps when you see the 1.3D general loop and you see huge stuff. There's the soft lock mech right there.
Yeah, the soft lock mech. I haven't. Oh, get out of the way! I haven't actually seen it in a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, I always save right before that room just in case we get that soft lock.
So that brute there, or that zombie there, is the true final boss.
Only where the villain delivers a predictable monologue.
It's like one stray zombie there.
All I have to deliver to you is annihilation.
So this is another horde thing, and you're supposed to like have infinite bowling bombs and throw the sentry, but speedrunners are no fun. So there is a little bit of a different strategy here that is much more efficient.
What are you trying to do here, Shelly?
There is a bug there that you see, the whole texture atlas, and it is a reference to Daytona as well. There is a
And that's
texture
time,
atlas.
time. Sorry.
No worries. Texture atlas gets to the wall, and we still haven't managed to figure out what causes that. It only happens pretty much in the final map, and only in the speedrun setting. So I'm pretty sure like some memory gets full or something like that, or some corruption or whatever. But it's funny enough to keep in the game. So in case you want to admire like every texture in the game, that's a good place to do it.
There we are. 100% secrets and all zone mega secrets. And that is Ion Fury. Thank you again, Shots Fired, for having me play this game again. It's a much longer, more complicated, interesting category. This is not all you're going to see of me. I got 2 more runs coming up this week. Thank you, Oasis, for once again commentating for me. And
You are welcome.
if you'd like to catch me live on Twitch, it's chaos_wolf. Yeah, that's going to do it for me.